Hi once again. I thought I would squeeze in a third item to put up today. So here goes. Now, let me say this particular lamp, or a bunch of similar lamps, brings back lots of memories. Many years ago, and certainly not the first time I visited New York, but certainly the last time I visited New York, and this happened before the World Trade Fair got terrible. The planes run into it. I still can't believe it. Brings back terrible memories because we all remember where we were when certain events happened, and when that event happened, I was in my local vet's with one of my pussycats. So yeah, I do remember it. Now, previous to that, I was on a journey with a friend to New York. We visited New York. Self-drove up to Toronto in Canada. I am, by the way, half Canadian. And it was a very enjoyable trip. Now, before we went up there, I know I'm probably telling a long story, keep it short if I will. I visited, I don't know the name of the park. Perhaps I should have noted what it was, but it was somewhere, as far as I know, in New York or suburb of New York. I visited such places as Nutley, which was where my aunt used to live. She's no longer with us now. And so it could have been there. But anyhow, somewhere along the line, there was like a junk market, flea market, boot sale, whatever. It was a fascinating place, obviously. Mine curiosities. And one of the sellers had a box full of this type of bulb. When I say this type of bulb, there was frosted ones, ones covered in white, vertical filaments, horizontal filaments, but they were all of the typical American lamp that you would have found in the States. Remember, this is going back a few years. There was no bands then on this type of lamp. So, yeah, there was quite a few of them. And I thought, how am I going to get those back to England? Desperately wanted to. And also at the same time, I bought quite a warm coat, which I had for many years afterwards. But that side is by the way. I sorted these lamps out. Well, I put these lamps into a box. Said to the seller, how much do I owe you for these? I don't know what the price was. It was ridiculously cheap. And anyhow, so the story goes, I brought them back to England. Now, I mention this because after the trade fair, the buildings being flown into, of course, things did drastically change. And I still wonder to this day how I managed to get a bag full of lamps back to England, taking it on the plane. I remember it going through the X-ray equipment, and I was quite amazed it got through. I don't think it would today. Anyhow, that's the story of that. There's lots of these bulbs, so I thought, well, I'm going to put one of them up. This just shows you a fairly common lamp at the time, with the horizontal filament, very cheaply made, I would say. There's no wire supports or anything. It's had a bit of use. as you can see by the blackening. No supports, just a cheaply made lamp. Don't know the maker of this one. There was various makers of the lamps, obviously GE, Westinghouse, possibly Philips. But it was a long time ago. Anyhow, I brought the lamps back, and they were all workers, and some of them are still upstairs. I've used them in various lamps that I've got over here that are American lamps. I brought back 1 or 2 American type lamps, or rather found them over here in boot sales. Wimbledon was a good exchange area for foreign made stuff, so it was very good. But anyhow, I'm going off the subject a bit. This is the actual lamp. These are 120 volts. This is possibly 40 watts. There's 40s, 60s, 75s, which was a little bit more rare. But anyhow, there are quite a few of these, and I thought, well, I'll pop these in because I wanted to tell the little story of the anecdote of finding these, and obviously sad memories of the trade building, those 2 twin towers. Because I actually visited them when I was in New York with a friend. I'd have loved to have gone up to the observation, but unfortunately I'm terrified of heights. I only have to go a couple of steps on a step ladder and I get vertigo, so obviously I didn't go up the building. I'd have loved to. I'd have loved to have gone into the lifts. Being a bit nosy as regards lift, it'd been nice to find out what they were, what type they were. I think they turned out to be Otis, which was no surprise, as Otis probably the largest lift manufacturer. But that's beside the way. My friend went up there. He took my camera. There was no mobile phones. Well, I think the mobile phones had just started to come in then, but I certainly didn't have a mobile phone. In some cases, I wish I still hadn't got them. But there's another story. Anyhow, he took my camera up, which was the old film camera. That was before we had the old memory cards and that. And he took pictures for me. I, like a coward, sat down on what they call them, there was seats, there was seating arrangement outside. It was a lovely day as far as I can remember. And I waited for him to go up and come down, which he did. So that was my memories of the towers, Twin Towers. So obviously it was a very sad moment when in the vets I saw the planes fly into them. In fact, when I went into the vets, I said to them, "Oh, have you seen on the news?" And they didn't know. So it was a shock to them as well. Anyhow, there's the actual lamp. Quickly before I close on this one, I know I do like reminiscing. When I was in my 20s, my father had passed away at that time, and I was left a little bit of money, not a vast amount, just a little bit of money, and I put it towards the fair to go with a then friend she is no longer with us, to visit a relative of mine in Canada. Fort William was the name of the town. I think it's called Thunder Bay now, but it was Fort William. And also that was the time I bought that little Princess phone back. But anyhow, we visited Fort William. But before we got to Fort William, I wasn't allowed to drive then. Well, you know, there was no way of hiring a car, so we went by either car or taxi. Well, from the airport in Toronto, we got on a taxi and it took us into the town. The most frightening trip I think I've ever had. There was a couple of smash-ups on the way, not concerning us, but you can see them on the way. There was one instant where a car had gone through the plate glass window of a Woolworths store. Yeah, there was Woolworths stores then. And it was quite an adventure. You know, I did go at one of the days to a departmental store. I think it was called Eaton's in Yonge Street. Young Street. Someone out there will know. I'm pretty sure the shop was Eaton's. And what astounded me was on one of the counters, it was a store similar to a Woolworths, and on one of the counters it was covered in this type of lamp. They weren't in wrappers, they were just masses of these lamps on the counter, and that was where my first time of seeing the lamp with a vertical filament. Now I haven't got one here, I've got one but I'm not showing it at the moment. This is a horizontal filament, which is the normal type, but the vertical filament, obviously, as the name suggests, went vertical, and they were some of the lamps that were shown. Anyhow, I'm going to stop talking now. I love going back into time. It was a long time ago. I was in my 20s, so it does go back a long time. But I do remember the trip I had to visit my aunt. It was quite an education. I remember we visited one house where there was a wake going on, and the coffin, which I understand is quite common practice out there, was on display, and it was open, so you know, and you filed past it. So of course that gave me quite a shock. I didn't know the person. It was someone obviously related to one of the people there. But anyhow, there's the lamp. I'm going to wrap this little talk up now. It does bring back memories. I'm sorry if it brought a lot of you to tears. These are memories that have sort of kept me going. And they were good memories. Anyhow, thanks again for watching. Don't know what I'm going to put up next. I won't put any more up today. I think I probably put too many up already. So there's the lamp, unnamed, with aluminium cap. But this would have been a typical lamp that you'd find in America or Canada, and the typical shape. Later lamps seen over there are more of the European type, but with that smooth feeling there where it goes into the cap, was typically American. Anyhow, I'm going to shut up now. Thanks again for watching. Any comments please make. Thanks again. Thank you.